struggling to find an in-network healthcare provider after Hayes Medical Center says that it failed to reach an agreement with UnitedHealthcare Marketplace plan holders. 12 News reporter Brock Wilson was in Hayes today, where he learned more about what caused that problem and what's being done to help people avoid higher healthcare costs.
Says it was incorrectly listed as an in-network provider with UnitedHealthcare Marketplace, meaning anyone that has that plan that uses HaysMed has to pay out-of-network costs with little warning. HaysMed alerted UHC Marketplace plan holders to the issue last week, giving them a deadline of January 1st to find a new plan or pay higher costs. I reached out to some insurance navigators working with Marketplace plan holders, and they were unable to comment. I also spoke to HaysMed VP for Regional Operations, Shay Veach, who declined to comment on camera, but did release this statement. HaysMed understands the potential impact this may have on its patients and encourages all UHC Marketplace plan owners to reach out to their healthcare insurance representative for more details to avoid paying higher out-of-network costs. If you have the Marketplace plan and don't know what to do, there are a few resources available, like Sunflower Insurance Solutions and Kansas Cares, which are both offering help to those affected. We also have more information on our website and the KWCH app. In Hayes, Brock Wilson, 12 News.